But let me first just welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. And Nikki, thank you for joining us on our WIL Talk podcast. We're super excited to have you here. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vicki. I'm really, it's an honor to be here, and I'm really excited to share some of the things I've learned over the past few years in this zero waste space and to connect with the audience. So
awesome.
For the invitation.
Yeah, no, our pleasure. We're excited to learn some things. So I want to take just a moment and thank our sponsor. So today's podcast is actually being sponsored by Better and Stronger Allies Together. Luc Villeneuve, who is the president of Benchmark Corporation, and Martin Bernier is the chief information officer of U Ottawa. They joined together to rally their peers in creating a safe space to be able to share insight to fight for equality and concrete change. And they're capturing these learnings from each meeting that they're having through a collaborative diversity learning e-journal. They launched their group last December, and now they are boasting over 300 members. And so we were fortunate enough to have them as our sponsor today for the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. So thank you for Better and Stronger Together, Men as Allies. That's awesome. And so now I'm very honored and excited to introduce our guest today. I have Nikki Self with us. And after 2 decades of working as an interior design or in interior design and construction management, Nikki decided to align her expertise in building infrastructures with her ethics. So founding Saponetti, Toronto's first soap refill delivery service with her husband, Christian, she's been able to fill a niche in home goods, zero waste sphere and offer a fully transparent circular business model. She's continuing to offer the public opportunities to reduce waste, recycle, reuse, and refill. Saponetti's purpose is to promote an eco-conscious living and provide ways to make it easy and rewarding so that we can take good care of ourselves, our communities, and our planet without compromising. She and her husband have Saponetti, which guiding principles are that less is more. Be kind stewards in this world, invite curiosity, and support local and engage our communities. So as a young woman, Nikki's story has been inspired by the Lorax. And so I'd like to just kind of jump in right there, Nikki, if we can. And, again, I'm going to welcome you, to the talk today. But why the Lorax? What inspired you from the Lorax when you were a youngster?
Well, thank you, Vicki, for that kind Introduction. Wow. So the Lorax for me was sort of my loss of innocence moment. When I was a child, I grew up in northern BC, and we used to travel every summer. We would spend our summers out camping in sort of northern wilderness. My father was a logger, so we spent a lot of time out near his campsites over the summer. And it was during those trips that I saw these clear-cut area landscapes that were completely barren of trees. And when I saw the Lorax, so when I was about 6, and let's be honest here, I'm talking about the Lorax from the 70s, the first one that came out. It really touched me because I had this understanding of what I was seeing in my environment, that something didn't feel right to me. And it was being sort of shown to me from an outside source that like something is happening here that's not right. And it stuck with me my whole life, literally. This idea of that this sort of destroying the planet and this sort of this consumption use. Now, this was a conversation that started way back in the 70s, but somehow it's kind of got buried and through the different decades, right? But the Lorax for me was a huge inspiration, still is in many ways, because we have this Lorax creature who's really speaking for the land, the spirit of the forest, and about tempering our insatiable need to just acquire more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
So that was a lesson I got really young. I didn't fully understand it, but it has been unfolding in my life for probably 40 plus years.
Very nice. Wow. So clearly you had this calling as a very young person, if that's how it resonated with you, that you needed to make a difference. And so, maybe we just jump in and talk a little bit about Saponetti. And for those of you on the call who, you don't know Saponetti, Saponetti Inc. is Nikki's company, which is in Toronto. And so let's just talk about what, inspired you. And I know Christian, your husband is co-founder as well, but what inspired the two of you to create this business, and tell us a little bit about how it works.
Wow. Okay. Let's see here. Trying to get to the Coles note, the Coles notes of that. I mean, so many things inspired. I mean, that childhood experience. I was, I grew up in the 80s. I was educated and taught to go out there and make that life that you want and seek those things that you need. And I chased after, I made career choices that I was really excited about, and that I thought would give me a lot of fulfillment, that I thought would give me that sense of I'm arriving where I was hoping to be. And I found that even though I had great experiences and I met fantastic people, there was something inside me that was missing something. There was something about me that was I love going to this place of work, but it's still a job. And there was something that wasn't fully connecting in terms of purpose. The purpose of that job was to pay my bills. The purpose of that was to build my life or acquire things or things that I think that I'm told that are important. But when I realized that those things weren't really giving me any when I wasn't happy about it, when I wasn't feeling fulfilled and purposeful every day, I started to get tired of just getting out of bed and going to work every day. Mm-hmm. So that's was the sort of emotional landscape that created that place of I need to make some change somehow, and I don't know how to do this. I know I'm not content in the world. But at the same time, around that time, I started to have some health issues. Health issues are always a great wake-up call. They really start
Most definitely. Yes.
Right. Make you look at some of your habits, some of the things you're doing, what you're contributing to that situation. And so in that study, I started to realize I had a little bit more control than I thought I did. That I was making some choices that were making my life really not good. My health was struggling and I was stressed out, burnt out. So when I started to realize that the things I had control of, I started to take the reins on that a little bit. And in that examination, you start to realize, okay, so I'm putting garbage in my body, or I'm not taking as good care of myself. And then you start to expand that consideration to your environment. Right. So I'm buying this product because I know it's better for me. But now when I'm buying it, it's got all this packaging, it's traveled so far, I'm throwing this stuff in the garbage. And I'm actually, I'm ruining my environment that I live in. So it's kind of this odd paradigm where, we're getting good things for our health. We're investing in our wellness, but at the same time, we're creating a very unwell situation for the planet by all this waste. So there's this sort of schism. Mm-hmm. So that schism, so I was a multiple schism person, right? So I came with schisms in my health, schisms in my life and purpose and all of this. And then we started to look at it really closely. We realized I had a bin in my garage full of empty containers, dish soap, laundry soap, hand soaps. They were brand new. If you pick them up, they just are empty. And it was my conscience wouldn't let me just live with that as my option. And in Toronto, there were no places left to refill. There were some old school shops in the past, but they had long disappeared. And that's when we realized, hey, this might be something that we're not the only people being anxious about. We're not the only people seeking solutions for. So that was kind of the beginning there, where we thought, let's check it. Let's dig into this and see if this is something that we can pivot to or make a life with.
I love it. I love it. Mm-hmm. So based on your own personal experiences and understanding that connection you have clearly to the earth and to having a purpose, a mission, you've now been able to create a business that delivers that as well, right? So it's not just impacting you, but it's impacting everyone around you, your community, so you're making that exponential, right? And starting to recognize that education, like what you just said a minute ago about seeing all these empty containers sitting, in your garage. And it's why are we not reusing those? That makes a lot of sense to me, right? So maybe talk to us a little bit about that whole zero waste circular system and even on a small scale, how does one even start to look at it? Because we're so driven by patterns, right? Or habits. We have habits of we go, we buy, we throw out, we take our garbage out every week, that kind of thing. So, what does that circular system look like, and how do we make a difference with it?
Well, I'll start with telling you a little bit how we work at our shop. So we're hyper local. We don't ship across the country. We stay within our own boundary here in Toronto. We have a bricks and mortar store, Bloor and Dufferin area, and we're also online. That's kind of our mainstay. So we want to make it really convenient for people. So we deliver with a emission-free vehicle to your home, sort of milkman style. Everybody is familiar with that in Toronto. There's still a lot of houses that have that milkman door. We don't use those, but we do the milkman style delivery, where we will drop off your order and we'll pick up your empties from the previous delivery, send you a coupon for those value that you can apply for next orders. So our goal is to really make it easy. So what you do is you'll get a mason jar of soap. You've got tons of empty containers at home. You just use a funnel and you are refilling. So you get better value. We're selling better, I feel, better quality products because we're buying products that are environmentally friendly, that are made in Canada by other manufacturers that are really invested in doing things that are better for the environment. So that's the part that we do. And then we also work with our suppliers to eliminate waste too. So we make sure that they're also refilling their bulk containers. So we take care of that end of the supply chain. Where the customer comes in, it's hard to start. We're all overwhelmed. So we like to offer people, like, let's start with some low hanging fruit: laundry soap, dish soap, hand soap. People can kind of, do an audit of your life, of what you're consuming every day. Some areas where, you may have some favorite things that you're like, there's just no way I'm going to give that up. So hang on to that. It's not about being perfect or throwing away all your plastic and buying only, like, that's just definitely not the solution. But the idea is to sort of take a personal audit about what you're doing, and then kind of make that, see what areas you can change. So we always encourage people to say, hey, start with easy things that, people aren't going to fuss about at home. Hand soap, like I said, that's an easy one. Dish soap. We have dishwasher tabs. People love dishwasher tabs. For some reason, it's a big seller. Laundry soap. These are easy things, easy swaps. And then you can go into there for personal care, skincare. We have refillable toothpaste. We have refillable dental floss, these kinds of things. But it's a bit of a journey, and each one starts to do that kind of audit themselves. And you start to see that actually there are a lot of things that you can do that you're already participating in every day. Currently. There are choices that you can make in that process that will eliminate waste, like eliminating the bag, or not choosing that plastic bag to put your fruits and veggies in. Bringing your own bag. If some stores are starting to allow that again, I will just carry a pile of potatoes and put them on.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Just all my fruits and vegetables. And my children say it's so interesting too, because they've grown up where in school they've educated them more about, making sure we're taking care of the earth and little things. I remember my son having a fit saying he saw a paper on the ground. He was like, "Oh my God, Mom, it's killing the earth. You got to go back and get it." And I was like, "What?" Right. But my kids will even say to me, "Why are you not putting that in a plastic bag when you go to the grocery store?" And I'm like, because why do we need to? Right. When I get home, I'm going to take it out of that anyway and put it in our vegetable platter or a fruit platter or wherever it is. So it's interesting that, that's a small step, but can be a very impactful step, right?
True. Absolutely. Yeah. And it leads to, maybe some folks here have seen the mason jar challenge, where people say, this is my mason jar of all the waste I had all year. Oh my gosh, nobody should be expected to accomplish that. Because sometimes to get that level of no waste, you're going to be driving across the city. So you got to weigh out your choices to see what's really more sustainable, right? Like shipping something across the country versus going locally. We're really big proponents of shopping local, supporting your local communities, supporting local makers. This is what makes communities vibrant and exciting. And we want to support other small businesses too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I think, one thing that always sticks close with me is the conversation your husband and I had about, the challenge with your blue bin. how much do you have in your blue bin, right? And I feel guilty every time I take my blue bin out if it's full, because I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Because now I look at it, and my daughter's doing the same thing. We start to look at it and it's like, what's in that blue bin that we could be reusing, right? And how many times can we reuse it before it needs to go into the blue bin? So I think those are important points that you've just highlighted on small ways that we can make a difference, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So I know you guys are on a mission to be thought leaders and disruptors on how we are currently living. So what are some of the most common things that you see society doing that has a negative impact on the environment?
Oh my goodness. I think we're really kind of addicted to convenience.
Mm-hmm.
And we really like things now. We don't want to wait a couple days or the next day or a week. And we're kind of, we have so much choice and choice is so available to us all the time that we can make snap decisions without really thinking it through. Mm-hmm. So I think the speed at which we are living our lives and acquiring and changing and learning, I mean, I think that's just part of the new paradigm that we're in. Things are changing so dramatically, right? But oh gosh, sorry,
That's okay. I know you went down you were like,
there's rabbit holes that we can go into.
Well, I was going to say, you have so many things to share. So, maybe it's just, even if you share some of the like little things that you see that have the most negative impact, I would say. So consumption and convenience. Those are definitely, I would say, probably the two biggest drivers, right? Because we are in a society in North America in particular, more so probably than most everywhere else in the world, about consumption. Like, we consume at huge amounts that we don't really need to. Even if we look at food as an example, right? When you look at a plate of food in North America, it's like rolling over, which is why we have so much obesity and we have so many health issues, so many people with diabetes. And, if we get into less consumption, and I'm just using food as an example, that has a significant impact on so many ways, right?
Absolutely. I think we're kind of following what society is telling us what we should do and be and how we should exist, right? And I think we need to take some more ownership back. So when we look around, people say, oh, well, we can't do this because I can only buy that. Or, oh, we can't fix the environmental problem because the things are only sold like this. And these are sort of half truths. So I think that it takes a lot of self-reflection for people. I think people need to sort of look into their sort of own lives. I know it's a really hard question because you can sort of do a blanket statement that society is doing this wrong. We're recycling. We know recycling is broken. Let's face it. Like, maybe 9% of plastic gets recycled that we throw out. And most of us are wish cycling. And I'm putting up my hand here too, because I know I'm sure I'm throwing things in my blue bin that probably this week or month is not going to be recycled there. Mm-hmm. So, there's so many infrastructures that just aren't functioning. They look like they're functioning on the outside, but when you dig deep, you start to see that they're actually not working at all. So it's really hard to sort of point at one thing or a couple of things. But I think what it boils down to is, like, we really need to, not sort of follow what we're being fed about what we think our lives should be, but we need to ask that question from inside. Like, what is it that makes me really happy? Do I need all those things that I'm being sold? Do I need to order a box from Amazon every week? Or is my life more simple? And I think, it boils down to each one sort of doing their part rather than expecting it to come from the outside. Mm-hmm. There are global meetings happening right now in Scotland about the state of the environment, and people are shrugging their shoulders about what to do. Right. So we're really in this unique moment where I feel like we can't rely on big industry and government to mandate change. That it really has to come through each one of us. And we have to look at, do I need this? Is this important? Is this important in my life? I need to acquire all these things? Once we start to look at that inventory, sometimes we make the discovery is I'm actually really stressed out trying to keep up with all this need to have all this stuff or have this sort of lifestyle. So I think when we kind of do that introspective look and what's important to us, what kind of quality of life that we want to have, right? Because it's not when we start to look kind of deep in there, we really are here for experiences. We want to feel happy and joyful and at peace. And sometimes all those successes aren't giving us those things. So it's a really complex thing, because society is doing a number of things that can be done better. But at the same time, I feel like, we're just in such a unique moment that I feel that we can all start to just take responsibility and do what we know that we can do to make it better. Yeah, I don't want to put a blanket criticism on society, because we've come to this point, but throughout history, we have seen that we max out where we go, and then we have to find a new starting ground. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and so, there are a lot of good things I think that are happening too.
Yeah.
Because there are some businesses that are recognizing it. So yourself and your company, like you're figuring out ways to disrupt the normal supply chains and how to help people be better stewards and how to shop local. But there's also some bigger companies. So like Loop as an example. Yes. Right. Like, and Loop is impacting very large brands in our consumption. What's the word I'm looking for? And how we consume things. So they're working with, some of the big grocery stores and some of the brands, like I think Tide would be one of them, right? Where they're figuring out ways to, create that circular system.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. There is a lot of activity happening at the grassroots level as well. And definitely Loop and TerraCycle are champions, in the kind of global landscape, promoting reuse, and that, talking about the fact that these waste is not waste. It actually can be an input for something else, which is how nature really works, right? Right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Really trying to apply that philosophy to waste, so that we can actually always be turning waste into something new and useful. So there's definitely a lot of exciting things happening and bubbling up.
Well, and I think that that's also, for our audience here today, it's also them recognizing how people are getting super innovative, right? I mean, you clearly are a visionary, and you've been, introducing beautiful products. Like I personally, there's a lot of your products that I love, and not just soap, right? Like soap is not just the only thing that you do. And so there's ways that, in small ways, that we can make such a difference. So, a couple of examples that just came to my mind was even the purses or the bags that you're buying, right? Those are all done from plastics, right? That were recyclable plastics, and they're gorgeous. The other one that I really love that I think is so cool is the magnet that you use for soaps, right? Because somebody uses a bar of soap and they leave it in a dish, and it melts. That's the best way for me to say it, right? Absolutely. That's melting. And you have partnered with someone that has this magnet that you can actually hook that to the side of your sink or your shower or tub or whatever. And you're not wasting all of that, because it keeps it more whole for longer, right? So you're investing a little bit to make sure that something is more sustainable. But it's more about the impact that this has on our environment, the amount of consumption that we have. You don't go through it as fast. But it's thinking about how we reuse things, right? And the other product that you have that I'm completely in love with is your package-free tea. So let's just use that one as an example and talk about that for a minute. Why is package-free tea such an important commodity to move to if you're a tea consumer, right? Like if you love tea, why should we move to package-free from tea bags?
Oh, wow. Okay. So let's dig into that one. First off, so package-free tea, we sell exclusively loose leaf tea. So all the tea, sometimes tea bags, depending on companies, often what you're getting in that tea bag is not that top quality grade tea that you would get in loose leaf, you're getting kind of sometimes the dust, the stuff that's, really broken down. It's not the best part of the tea leaf that you're getting in there. And not to mention that often tea bags are made with plastic component in them. They have waste attached. They have usually a little staple. So that's just garbage. And then the tea bag usually comes in a box that's wrapped in cellophane, and cellophane doesn't break down. Like, that will last hundreds of years.
Forever. Yeah.
Forever, right? So there's a lot of little waste components for just a one-time beverage experience. And so I know tea lovers drink a lot of tea, and so if you're going through multiple bags a day, that impact per person adds up exponentially, right?
Yeah.
And so we sort of looked at this tea industry and seeing like, wow, this is just outrageous how much waste exists here. How can we address that? So because we have nothing else to do as entrepreneurs, we started a side hustle called Package Free Tea. And we brought a partner on board who imports tea and has an immense wealth of knowledge about the tea world and all the different types of tea. So we collaborated. We talked a lot over a couple of years. I was saying, why aren't you doing this with your business? And so we decided, hey, we're the experts in this. He's the expert in that. So we blended forces to bring this Package Free Tea company to Toronto. So we want to be like a hyper local option where people can get tea and not get stuck with that packaging.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
either you're refilling your own package or we'll take the package back.
Right. And so what I love about that is, because this goes back to one of the examples we were talking about earlier of how as an individual do you start to make a difference in recycling, reusing, refilling, all these things. And so this is a great example, because what you just named off about all the packaging and what goes into that tea. So you've got a box that it's delivered in to the grocery store or the store you buy it, and then it's in a box, and then it has a divider in it usually. Sometimes they're individually wrapped. Sometimes they're in the little tea bags. It's stapled. It's got a little card on the end of it. So there's a lot, to your point, there's a lot of packaging. And at the end of the day, that's where all the cost is, right? Like, it's all the packaging.
That's it.
But the other thing that I think is so cool, when you're thinking about it, it's the amount of usage you get out of that tea. So for an example, like, I love the milk oolong and I love the cream of Earl Grey. Like, those are two of my absolute favorites that you sell. And I put mine in the little silver strainer, right? And I brew my tea, but then I have the leaves afterwards that I just set aside. And then later in the day, I may have another cup of tea, right? So I'm using that same loose leaf tea 2-3 times. So it's not like a single use, right? And I guess that's where I'm going. And I think that that's an important part of everything that you're doing. It's not just about using things one time. So it's really looking at, as a consumer, all the different things that we use and how do we get more out of it, right? Yeah. That's what I'm hearing you say is a big component.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And actually, like good quality tea, like the milk oolong you mentioned, can be brewed like 5 times, 6 times. It's a whole leaf tea. So, and like you said, when you're buying the box and the cellophane, often you're paying a lot of branding, and the tea is just the smallest component of all of that. So
yeah, exactly.
We want to try to work around that and bring more quality forward and help people make those choices so they can say, hey, I want great tea. I'm really tired of making all this waste.
Yeah, well, and I think that that's the bigger mission, right? And you and I've talked about this before, that your mission is not just about having Saponetti as an online retailer or as a bricks and mortar. Your mission is really more about how to be a disruptor in this ecosystem and helping educate people and getting people to recognize that single-use plastics and single-use containers are really creating a major problem for our earth, right? Yeah. And so how do we as individuals start to look at our own consumption differently? And to your point, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's little steps, right? So little bits at a time. Like, even if, I'm just going to throw an example. If you take your recycle out every other week, maybe you get to once a month where you take it out, right? Like just figuring out ways and what's in that recycle bin that you can use for other things. I know for myself, I've started buying a lot more in like bulk items at the right. So like the tea as an example. And then I have my glass containers that I keep stuff in. And you can do that with nuts. You can do it with all kinds of stuff, right? But I think it's important, what you're doing and the level of consciousness that you're bringing to society, right? And even this local is like shopping local is so huge. Yes. And that goes back to your convenience thing too, because it's easy to click on a button and order something from Amazon. And, it takes thought to, really start to think about, okay, I'm going out. So I want to plan how I'm going to go out and shop and where I'm going and what I'm getting. And, how do I refill this or how do I reuse it? All important. And you've been getting lots of comments in the chat there. So thank you. Thank you, ladies. Yeah. So we've got some work to do, but it is just one step at a time, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah. So, and I know that you guys do a lot of different products. Like we've talked about the soaps, but you also do like cleaning supplies, you do disinfectants, and like the other product I really love is the Environize that you have, because it's like a multi-purpose item and you can get rid of so many other things in your cabinet, right? Which frees up space, which is less bottles going to the landfill. So maybe talk a little bit about Environize as well, if you would, because I think that's like a super product in my mind.
It is a fantastic product. We're really excited. So we discovered it last year when COVID hit. We had to find something. There was shortages of everything, alcohol, whatever. So we discovered this locally made product. Environize. So it's made with hypochlorous acid. So hypochlorous acid is produced by the body to fight infections. It's they were using this in World War I, but they could not stabilize the product so that it wouldn't last a very long time. But in recent times, they have been able to stabilize it so it can last a year or more in its solution. And what it is, essentially, it's water and salt with an electric charge, creates hypochlorous acid, and it creates an incredibly effective disinfectant. It's Health Canada approved against COVID. It's on their list of products. But it's completely non-toxic, so you don't need special equipment. If it gets on your skin, you don't have to be concerned about that. You can actually use Environize as a hand sanitizer. They sell actually hypochlorous acid as a skin, you can buy it in other brands as a skincare treatment. So hypochlorous acid has vast treatments. It can clean your house, it can clean your kitchens. It's good for commercial kitchens and commercial environments as well. And it's completely safe. It's locally made, so you're not going to have any supply chain issues. It's not going to be stuck on a boat somewhere. It's literally made right here in Ontario. So we're really looking at those things, right? So effectiveness, where is it from? How can we, when we met with Environize, they weren't selling bulk in this way, but now they are. So we're really excited to be able to have these collaborations with different companies that we're able to convince them to take their fantastic products and allow us to get that into the bulk market. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of my favorite things. It's so multi-purpose. It's kind of hard to talk about because it does so many things, right? But at the same time, I love this idea of multi-purpose because we are kind of sold about the idea that we need 50 things under our sink or in our beauty cabinets, but actually it's really much simpler than that. And then those things in and of itself will simplify life, right? So you can do other things, save some money and just buy yourself some time back in life. You can be concerned about things that are more interesting.
Exactly. Well, and so two things I want to highlight on that because I think that like the beer store and LCBO, they're big users of Environize, right? And especially when COVID happened, because because you sell it in bulk, you're teaching them to have the conscious ecosystem, right? To refill their bottles and stuff. But then that covers a lot of area for them and they can get rid of all the extra cleaning stuff that they have, which is awesome. Right. And
packaging, right? Like think exactly of that they must, that these companies go through, right? And it's just a small we're talking about a small operational change.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. So these are the sort of educational pieces. These are the sort of bottlenecks of just kind of meeting companies or households, just sort of saying, hey, like, it might take a little bit of effort, but like in anything new that you try, you start and it becomes habit. You start to realize, wow, how come I have not been doing this before?
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been doing. That's
Yeah.
what I recognize. Right. And as I said, I'm going to reiterate this, but when Christian said to me, like, what's in your blue bin, that stays with me. It like haunts me all the time because I'm like, what is in my blue bin this week? Right. How much am I throwing out, and what could be prevented? What can I change? But I want to stay on this Environize for a minute because, even our audience listening, like if businesses that, because they have to deal with, hand sanitizer, they have to worry about disinfectants. They're constantly cleaning. Like I know for my daughter, like I before I got the Environize, like her hands would be almost scabbed because she has super sensitive skin. And they would be almost scabbed from the hand sanitizers and the soaps and stuff. And since we've been using Environize, she's not having that issue, right? And so for our audience listening, like if businesses, whether it's doctor's offices, dentists, whatever, like retailers,
veterinary clinics.
Yeah, like this is a product that actually can be super impactful. And to Nikki's point, it's a small change that has a significant impact in how, from a cost perspective, but also even from an employee training, because you've kind of got one all-purpose disinfectant that they can use multiple ways and not have to worry about, oh, do I use this for this or this for that? So I think that's super important. And this is not a commercial. I'm not I'm not being salesy. Sorry, ladies. I just get super excited because it's hard to find products that have these great multi-purposes and have a positive impact on the environment. Because the other thing is it's not a chemical that has a negative impact on our environment. You can even wash your fruits and vegetables with it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's like you said, like it's because we're washing our hands, we're using alcohol. So it's alcohol free. And on top of that, it's healing. So if your hands are dry, it will help healing. It's good for eczema and dry skin. So it has it's got double benefits features to it. So it's kind of why not? If it's healthy and good for your skin, why not?
Yeah, exactly. So Isabella just had a great question. She said, do you have to dilute it? Like she has kids and if she wanted to send it to school with the kids, does she have to dilute the product?
No, it's ready to go, ready to use. You can just put it, I have a little spray bottle I carry in my purse. I use it all the time when I'm out and about. I have one in my bathroom. That's what I use as a toner on my face. It's the best thing on my face. So yeah, for your kids, no problem.
Awesome. She said, thank you. Yeah, no, and I think that's important to, great question, Isabella, because so many times you do have to dilute things. And this is like really easy. And you just take whatever bottle you have at home. It could even be an old disinfectant bottle that you've used and clean it really good, sterilize it, and then put the Environize in it. So that's awesome. So I'm just watching our time here, Nikki, and I want to make sure I can open it up for the audience to ask some questions. So what 2 things would you like to share that our audience could take away today that could help, and even in a small way, to make a difference?
2 things. Oh my gosh. Okay. Narrowing it down. I don't want to leave. I would like the audience to leave not feeling that it's a very scary thing to undertake or it's going to be a big deal. So I just want to have a good look at some areas that you can make some small changes. There are probably a couple of things you can think of very quickly that, and when you're doing it too, when you buy the bottle of water. Sometimes you got to buy a bottle of water. I mean, sometimes your health is important, but like you can, there are these little things. So just prepare yourself, like maybe keep the bags or a bottle of water around, or things that you might know that you're using, or if you're going out for the day, just sort of be prepared so that you can eliminate, say, that bag or that bottle or asking for that cup somewhere, right? So this is a small thing. And just build the habits, build regular habits that, just consider the whole chain of what you're buying, right? Like how it impacts not just your life, but the whole lifespan, like where it comes from, who's made it, where, have the people, these are things that I think about when I shop, but not good. I don't want people to get overwhelmed with that kind of thinking process, but it just to kind of have it playing in the background, because it will sort of guide you. It'll guide you as you're looking around and shopping, because most people are really interested in making better choices that make a better impact on the planet. So yeah, start small, pick easy things. Don't be hard on yourself. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody's asking for perfection, because we all know that doesn't exist. So yeah, those are just sort of the key things. Like I said, just kind of do the personal work yourself, and just every time you're out shopping, just kind of ask the question, do I need this? And can I get this without a package? The answer is yes, you can get it without a package.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I would add one more to that is it something I can refill? Right?
That's it.
Can I refill this? Because there are places popping up more and more where you can do refills.
Yes.
And of course, I'm going to plug Nikki. If you're in the Toronto area, check her out and get refill from her. But there are places you can go, whether you're in Ottawa, whether you're in Texas, doesn't matter where you are. Like you can get refills in different places. So looking at how do you reuse and recycle these things. So I would like to open it up to the audience. If there's any questions, feel free to turn your mute off and turn your videos on, and jump in here and ask Nikki some questions, since we have her here with us.
I can ask a question.
Great. Thanks, Isabella. Yeah, go ahead.
You're welcome. No, thank you. And thank you so much, Nikki, for doing what you do, because it's so important as we're thinking about our children and next generations after them. Let's make this planet sustainable one. So sustainability has been important to me for years and years. And I'm trying to implement, and sometimes those sustainable habits. And there are days where, yes, the convenience needs to kick in, as right. You have a business to run, you have 3 kids, dog, and everybody else. So the question I had, so thank you again for having such amazing products. And I definitely will check out that Enviro something. I'm excited about it. I wish you were closer to me. We're actually in Burlington, Ontario. But I did see, I'm just liking you on Instagram, and I'm looking, you do deliver, which is great. And do you deliver across Canada?
No, we don't, not at this point. So the reason for that is because we use electric vehicles. So we do emissions-free deliveries. And so for that reason, we are really kind of hyper local. We're staying in the Toronto area for now. I feel like we can have a really great, robust business in Southern Ontario. I don't feel like we have the need to go out into other neighborhoods. I feel like this is our community, our space. So we are looking at how we can expand our delivery zone. I'm not saying that we can expand to Burlington quite yet, but yeah, we definitely have plans to do that, to expand our reach.
But Nikki, you do have the other option, because you have some salespeople that are going to be, actually, I think one person is near Burlington, if I remember the conversation correctly, that she'll be doing the teas and some of the environized products, right? So Isabella, that might be an option. And you can always ask me, because I'm in Saponetti all the time and I come to Burlington all the time.
Okay, amazing. Okay. I'll reach out. Okay, I love it.
Let's create this network, right? It's like,
exactly.
I think that's a great
women supporting women. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yes. Thank you.
So we'll get you some stuff in Burlington for sure.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
We'll make it happen.
You just let me know what, and when I'm in Saponetti, I'll grab it. And then when I come to Burlington, I'll drop it off.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
You're welcome. Great question. So any other questions from our audience?
I have a question.
Awesome. Hey, Melissa, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good to see you.
Thanks. very interested in your products, Nikki. And so I have to admit, I haven't checked them out yet, so I definitely will. I was curious if there is like an organization or like a business group that you belong to of sort of other like-minded people, or people that are also doing zero waste businesses. Like, is there somewhere that's like a one-stop shop to explore other businesses doing the same thing?
That's interesting you brought this up, because just yesterday I dropped this on Vicky's lap. I said, hey, Vicky, you know, I think we need to start I need to start an organization. I need to connect with other businesses. We need to have a circular economy business network in Toronto. So there isn't a network of businesses yet per se, but there are organizations. There's one, Impact Zero. She's created a foundation. So she's done a lot of work to connect different communities together. She's kind of working in the space of accelerators. So she's helping people develop circular economy business ideas. And it's been brilliant. Her name's Erin Andrews. Give a shout out to Impact Zero. There are a number of things happening in the city. So it's not like you can get refilled soap. You can come into a store, not just my store, there are others, or get it delivered. But there are also other things in Toronto really exciting, like takeout food containers. So I can order from my favorite restaurant. They will deliver in a reusable container that I can return after. So this is happening in the delivery scene in Toronto. But I absolutely agree. I think that we should be connecting as businesses so that we can really support and bolster this circular economy infrastructure. I think this is the beginning of some big change. When I started my business, there was maybe one other small business like us in Northern Ontario. And now I've learned from some of my suppliers, there are upwards of 80 zero waste shops in Ontario, which is incredible. In 5 years, there are about that many stores. So this isn't some little trend that's going to go away anytime soon. This is really about the future.
Well, I think one of the things you pointed out is like we're sort of addicted to the convenience.
Yeah.
I would also, and maybe this is just my misconception, also wonder about cost, because I feel like there's a perception that green products or zero waste products cost more.
And sometimes that's true. I have to say sometimes that's true. And I think it's part of the reason is because we're not comparing apples to apples anymore, because as a zero waste store, I'm not just focusing on eliminating that package, but I'm focusing on buying a more environmentally sound product. I'm focused on working with suppliers who are also equally invested in doing things better for the environment and operating their business in a way that is more transparent. So in that, there are costs embedded in that. Some of my suppliers are B Corp companies, and B Corp companies, you know, they go beyond and above to do things right for people, planet, before profit, right? So those things will impact costs. If we were comparing apples to apples and I wasn't concerned about quality or my supply chain, I would be able to say, absolutely, we can offer refills at a much lower cost than buying the same bottle in the store. So that's kind of an inherent challenge that lies within the zero waste space, because we really want to tick more than just one box. Yeah. But that's a great question. And like anything, like when computers started and everything was expensive when these are new systems and new supplies change. So I expect that as, you know, this becomes more mainstream and we see bigger players involved, we will see the cost come down significantly and it'll be way more accessible to everybody. Yeah.
Well, not to monopolize the conversation, but I was just thinking, like, when you first started out, you probably were having to sort of create the system. And now that there's 80 different companies sort of doing similar things, you've probably it's probably easier for them now. Like I don't know what some of the challenges you had right at the very beginning were, but just in terms of, like, I guess, recreating the whole system, right?
It is, because actually when we started, it was very hard to get bulk product from suppliers. They said, that's a great idea. I love what you're doing, but we don't sell 20-liter containers of the product. And you're like, oh, so, you know, I found only in Quebec, there was nothing in Ontario. I found suppliers only in Quebec. So Quebec was ahead of us in this space. They had a lot more going on there. Yeah, so it's the pioneer's job, right? So it does take some time. And yeah, we did start paving the road, and hopefully we made it easier, but I think collectively we're all doing the work together. So yeah, it's an exciting time. Thanks for the great questions, Melissa.
Awesome. Yeah, those were really great questions. And, one of the things that you brought up there, Melissa, made me think more about it is the whole supply chain of it. Because, I know Nikki in particular is she is very particular about the different suppliers that they work with and the relationships that they're building. So even like her delivery person, making sure that they're emissions free. And like, so there's a lot of thought that goes into how things go from point A to point B, right? That's a really important piece to uncover. And the average person doesn't know that, right? Like we wouldn't know that. So
Yeah.
it is when you get educated on it and you start to understand, just the whole flow of how things happen and how to make it more accessible and easier. Like that's a big part of, what Nikki's company's doing and now some of these other companies that are doing, but it is happening more and more. We are seeing, more people come forward, which is awesome.
And also the suppliers are taking back their bulk containers, cleaning them and refilling them. This is big. So some of those other companies, I might be able to buy a 200-liter barrel of some other main street brand product, but there's no way they'll ever take that container. I'm stuck with it, right? And that's perpetuating the cycle. So yeah, it's kind of like these companies that we're working with are also invested in really upending that supply chain and that sort of system of doing things. Yeah.
Awesome. Great conversation. Any other questions before we wrap up here today? I just want to make sure.
I do actually have just a question about if there are other companies that you admire that we should look into. Or
Oh gosh.
Products that you use or.
Oh, that's a good question. I admire so many companies that are doing pioneer work. I mean, for me, any company that is digging into B Corp, I don't know if you know B Corp. B Corp is kind of like the gold standard for companies that are investing in people, planet before profit. They're, some companies pay people to take time off to volunteer in their communities, or they're doing so many. They're investing in like better waste management systems and all this. So for me, any company that's B Corp, and I carry some of them, the Unscented company, Onika Elements, both B Corp companies. I really admire their ethics and how they're functioning as business owners. There are other zero waste stores across Canada that I'm really stoked about. There's one in Vancouver, Nada, that's doing phenomenal things in the food space in terms of managing food waste and managing local ecosystems. So if you're in the BC area, check out Nada. They're brilliant. I really like a lot of the small businesses that are out there. There's so many that I've picked a couple right now to talk about that are B Corp, but I think there are a lot of great companies out there that are just raising the awareness that we need to be more responsible, right? Patagonia's been doing this for years and they're very good at it. And gosh, TerraCycle is another company that actually we work with them. We have TerraCycle boxes where we don't throw our packaging waste out. We repurpose what we can, but things like sellotape and all that, we actually put in a TerraCycle box and we ship to their company and they repurpose it. They make it into other products, could be decking or for boardwalks or things like this, just sort of durable products. So yeah, there are a number of, TerraCycle. Loop is another one, that they're coming to Canada. They're introducing a whole refillable line partnership with Loblaws. So I'm really excited when I see big companies working with small companies to create new initiatives. So I think there's a lot of great activity happening out there. So I wouldn't discount big companies because they're just big companies. We need them and their infrastructures to make this change happen. So the more we
just
work
takes
together.
them longer, right?
Yeah, right.
Because they're so big, it just, and I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, right? And when you're smaller, you can be more nimble and agile and make things happen quicker. I think you're right, Nikki. That's a really good point. Some of the bigger companies, they're usually the biggest contributors to the waste. So if we can get them on board and doing things, then we're making a big difference.
And there are also small beauty brands that are operating sustainably. There's a new one called 1999. They're into sustainable beauty. Another local sustainable brand, Cheekbone Beauty. She's very much into sustainability. So there's a lot of activity happening in a lot of newer brands they're really trying to do the work on the supply chain side, which is where that's where most of the waste happens. 26% of the waste or so happens on the consumer end. Most of that problem happens on the supply end. So that's when companies are invested in that. I think that's when we're going to see some real change. Yeah.
That you brought it up right at the beginning, like just learning that most of the stuff we're recycling doesn't get recycled is so just defeating in a way. Like I think I grew up believing like I was a recycling Nazi in my house. And now I honestly, like I put plastic in the garbage because I know it's not going to get recycled. Like it's going to wreck the rest of the recycled products, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's really, anyway, hard not to be cynical. So thank you again for like.
I agree. It's hard not to be cynical, but I feel like there's also so many great things happening, that I see every day, and so many initiatives, and young people are developing so many new technologies. So we're at the precipice of a new era, really, in how we are behaving on the planet and how we are consuming. So I feel like it can be an exciting time.
That's a fantastic topic.
It is.
That's awesome. Great questions. Yeah. Thank you, ladies, for the participation. That's really great questions. And Nikki, you said something there just a moment ago about Onika.
Yes.
Onika, because you just did a live thing with them this past week, right?
Yeah, yesterday.
Okay. Wow. The time. I can't keep up anymore.
I know.
So they can see that on your Instagram or Facebook, or is that, I'm not sure if it's on LinkedIn.
It's on Instagram. Yeah, we did a live yesterday. If you check out, I didn't put it it's not as a post, but if you look at where the lives still are, you'll be able to pull it up there. Yeah, we had a great conversation, went on a tour of their farm, saw how they're growing all their own herbs, and then they macerate it into their products. They're really doing things better. So if you get a chance to check it out, they're fantastic people and great company doing good stuff for the planet.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I'm going to wrap us up here. And Nikki, thank you so, so much. And please, ladies, follow Nikki, share. We want to make sure, the more we educate people, the more that people know how they can take small steps to have big lasting impact is huge. So you can follow her on LinkedIn at Nikki Self, or you can also follow Saponetti on LinkedIn and Instagram, of course, at Saponetti. Which would be awesome.
Yes.
And she's always doing different events and stuff. And they have a great newsletter that teaches you I learned how to clean my blender with safe bleach on her newsletter. So I didn't even know there was a thing called safe bleach, right? So, there's always great tips and stuff that we learn. So Tuesday says, thank you for a great session. So Nikki, I want to thank you. And I also want to thank the audience. I really appreciate you ladies showing up today. And, you had great questions, and just your time and attention we're super grateful for. I also want to thank the sponsor of our podcast today. Thanks so much to Better and Stronger Allies Together, and the great work they're doing to inspire others to drive concrete change. Their next virtual meeting is going to be on December the 8th from 3 to 5, and everyone is welcome. So if anybody wants to attend, you can direct message me and I will connect you to the person who actually organizes it. And if you're interested in getting a copy of their e-journal, where they have started pulling together collaborative work on how we can create a stronger system of equality, really. So please direct message me, Vicki at WIL Empowered, and we'll be happy to get that to you. So again, I just want to thank you all. Our next podcast is on November the 18th. We have Vanessa Vicaria, who is literally a rock star. Like, you ladies will love her. She is the math guru, has quite the story to share, and is definitely setting the world on fire with her diversity, equity, and inclusion, microaggressions. Like, she's a little powerhouse, this woman. So hopefully you can join us on November the 18th. And again, Nikki, I want to thank you. You're soul is beautiful, and just really appreciate all the wonderful information you've shared with us today. And, all of us can start to make a difference. So thank you very much.